All right, Prime Minister Modi's visit to Indonesia has been significant. Major outcomes have been announced in Prime Minister's meeting with Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto, the biggest of which has to be Indonesia purchasing the Brahmos and Astra missiles from India. Well, these missiles have seen a huge uptick in interest after Operation Sindoor, and we are now seeing major export deals to the tune of multi-millions. Indonesia has decided to procure India's Astra air-to-air missiles, and India will also support Indonesia in expanding its Brahmos missile inventory by supplying additional batteries. India's defense exports have increased to 40,000 crores in the recent years, and the deals with Indonesia will expand this even further. We'll talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the program at this point in time is William Selvamurthy, Chief Controller, Research and Development, DRDO. We're also joined by Major General Dr. Rajan Kochar, Defense and Geopolitical Expert. Dr. Sharat Kohli, Senior Economist, with us on the program as well. Group Captain Tapesh Chaudhary, former Indian Air Force officer, with us on the show. And Wing Commander S. Sudhakaran, former Indian Air Force officer, joins us on the broadcast as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of this conversation. Important to understand that this is a milestone moment for India, and defense exports was something which was considered extremely difficult, to say the least, in the early 2000s. Is become commonplace when we talk about India and its relationship with the rest of the world. Mr. Selvamurthy, I'll begin with you, sir. Sir, what kind of a landmark occasion is this? Indonesia has procured Brahmos. This happened in April. The conversations were going on since September last year. And of course, Operation Sindoor and all that it achieved indicated towards India's military capability and the growth that it has seen. Is this a testament to that hard work that the DRDO and the Indian government and successive governments in the past have been doing to get us to this point?
Thank you, Vineet, for having me in this discussion. First of all, I would like to congratulate the whole nation, that which is now getting transformed into an emerging exporter of defense arms, which used to be a major importer. Now it's also becoming an emerging exporter of defense equipment and systems. And in terms of the agreement which has been signed today, is of strategic importance, diplomatically significant, and also has taken our country to a different level in terms of defense manufacturing, design, develop, and also manufacture and deliver it. And we not only indigenously design, and these technologies, missiles, for love or money, you can't get from any country. So you need to really develop it. And today, India has developed a tremendous capability in missile for different applications, starting from Agni, Prithvi, Akash, Nag, Trishul, Brahmos, interceptor missile, and so on, Shaurya, and so on, and also Asset. And Brahmos and Astra, the agreement which has been signed today, is it was used actually in the Op Sindoor, which you know that this was one of the very important missile which proved to be very capable in terms of the offensive attack which we had. And it's a precision, the speed, and also accuracy, reaching the target. These are all very, very important. The country is moving towards Viksit Bharat. Our Prime Minister has given this vision, for which you need to have economic power, military power, knowledge power. So this particular program demonstrates this deal which has been signed today, that we are moving towards $5 trillion economy, and also military power in terms of self-reliance index in defense technologies, critical defense technologies going up is a clear indication. And now we are becoming not only making for India, but we are making for the world. So our defense industries is growing, and L&T, Tata's, Mahindra, Godrej, Reliance, Bharat Forge, you name, so many industries, including the startups, MSMEs, is flourishing in this particular sector. And the two defense corridors which have been established, one in the UP, the other one in the Tamil Nadu. So all this is the policies of the present government under the Honorable Prime Minister's leadership has really brought this turnaround in terms of policies stopping the import of equipment from outside, 500 or more than 500 items not to be imported. So make success by compulsion. It has to be made in India. And the capability which DRDO has developed today, where I have served for 40 years, and even though earlier a lot of criticism used to be there, now it is proving in the option door as well as in the self-reliance index going up, and also the strategic capability becoming stronger. And this deal has yet another important milestone for the nation, that we will be able to also develop diplomatic relationship. Besides the economic, military, and knowledge power, the outreach and also diplomatic relationship is very vital if India has to become a major global player. So which is happening today, and so I'm so happy about this deal which has happened, and we must congratulate not only DRDO, the defense industries, the armed forces, who have been a part of this sojourn to develop this. So the armed forces, Army, Navy, Air Force, because the uniqueness of this is Brahmos is the fastest supersonic cruise missile today in the world, which is jointly done by both DRDO as well as the Russia. So this is a joint venture, and today Army, Navy, Air Force have inducted, and we have also been, many countries are asking for this Brahmos missile because it's a supersonic and it's accurate, and also the speed, which is also preventing it from detection from the radars and air defense. So these are certain important capabilities Brahmos has. It can be launched from air, water, underwater, as well as from land, air, water, underwater. So then this is a strategic missile. So that is why this missile, and it can also be a tactical applications. And why this Indonesia is looking at this missile, they have a large coastal belt and also the Straits of Malacca, which they have in the South China Sea, the maritime security to be strengthened. So the Navy requires for the maritime security as well as for the coastal defense. Then the other one is we need to strengthen the Air Force. So that is why they are taking air-to-air missile Astra, which is very important missile, which is again for the air defense as well as the air power strength to be augmented. Astra missile is important. So that is why it's Indonesia, it's critical that one side the naval system has to be strengthened, the other side the air power has to be augmented. So these two missiles, they have strategically selected for improving this, and it is also important for India because not only in terms of technology, now the defense industries will grow, and the confidence level, we will augment the range, the altitude, and also the accuracy. And these missiles is not static. The capability keeps expanding of these missiles. So this will further augment the development of newer missiles as well as the capabilities of these missiles. So I think this is very significant in terms of today's signing this, and I must congratulate Prime Minister, who is now very, very vigorously increasing the diplomatic connect and outreach. He is almost traveling to all countries because India is becoming a global superpower. So for which these efforts of the government and the DRDO, defense industries, and every one of us has to be congratulated for this. Thank you so much.
Fair enough, sir. You're spot on. And what you have said is basically summing up how well India has positioned itself as now an exporter of defense equipment, which was a distant reality of just a few decades ago. General Kochhar, also bringing to light that whenever countries purchase defense equipment, it's never sporadic, it's never random, it's done on the basis of performance. These countries are getting the bang for their buck, no pun intended. They are getting value for money because India has not only produced them, but India has also exemplified that self-defense can be procured perhaps for a fraction of the cost that the world is ideally used to, sir.
Thank you, Vineet, and my hello to the panelists here today. See, I would like to give you a slightly more realistic assessment, because it's it's good to say that, but Atmanirbhar Bharat has a long way to go. Second important aspect is this. As far as Indonesia is concerned, I think this is a landmark because we keep on talking about Kutniti. You see, the way China is engulfing us today. Look at what is happening in Bangladesh. Look at what is happening in Nepal. Look at what is happening in Bhutan, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. So now, here is an opportunity which India has exploited to get back to China because you see, in spite of Indonesia enjoying a very good relation with China, Indonesia is part of the Belt Road Initiative. There are so many, and the second largest trading partner as far as the Southeast Asia is concerned with China. But they are major irritants here, especially the Natula Islands, where there is a dispute, the exclusive economic zone is under threat. The 9-dash line is not recognized by Indonesia as a international norm. So I think India is exploiting this wonderful opportunity. I'd like to make a mention of Sarang port here, because I think that is one of the major strategic moves India has played here. Though Sarang port has been with India, India was using this port for a number of years, but what is happening now is the development, the entire infrastructure development of the Sarang port is now going to be a joint venture. And I think it is a very, very significant move because, Vineet, if you remember, sometime back in your channel, we had a discussion about the Car Nicobar Islands also. The way we are going to develop these islands as a port here, which is barely 150 kilometers away from the Sarang port. So I think this is one of the significant developments. Second important is we have understood these choke points now, because after having faced the Strait of Hormuz, we have realized the importance of Malacca Straits, and it is not only Malacca Straits, there are two more other straits which are part of the alternative supply chain here, and 70% of China's trade movement takes place here. So I think from that point of view, it's a significant deterrence because Brahmos and Astra you complement each other. One is an air defense system in which you can fit it on your aircrafts. It has a range of 160 kilometers, Astra, and that is Astra Mark 1. And if you take into account the Astra Mark 3, which is also being presently developed, its range is going to enhance to 300 kilometers. And an exclusive economic zone has 200 nautical miles. So you see this capability which India is giving to Indonesia. And to talk about Brahmos 290 kilometers, again that capability, it's a triad. It can be on your maritime coastal your batteries, or naval coastal batteries can deploy these Brahmos missiles onto their maritime coastline, the way Iran had done for itself. So I think this is a very significant, I would say that, deterrence, and it is a very strategic move. I believe there is a comprehensive strategic treaty also being aligned here, and this joint naval exercises are going to be conducted. We have been doing some of them with Indonesia earlier also, but now I think the level and scope of this exercise is going to enhance, especially with our theaterization coming in. I would like to actually bring in the theaterization of your commands, especially Andaman and Nicobar you command. So
Right,
with this theaterization, the reach of the Indian Navy is going to increase a lot. So I think it's a major deterrence to China as far as from the strategic point of view is concerned, and we need to
that's a good point. But if you look at the commercial and the trade and the economic angle, Dr. Kohli, how are you looking at this? Obviously, we are trying to offset the dominance that China has had, including over India, in a lot of avenues. But is this something which is going to help us get to that target? We are at 4 trillion something right now. China is at 21 trillion. Is this going to trickle into such a large extent that we'll be able to catapult that GDP number perhaps in a couple of decades as close to China?
Good evening, Vineet, to you, my fellow panelists, and the viewers. I think, if you look at the numbers vis-a-vis the total GDP of the country, about 38,000 to 40,000 crores of exports, 150,000 of total production, defense production, 150,000 crores. I think, if you look at it from total numbers, we've taken the step in the right direction. But I'll call these baby steps as of now. Because when we look at the numbers, 38,000 crores is not that big a number, and we are moving in the right direction. There's no doubt about it. And another point of a little concern which I have, which I'm sure my senior defense experts would agree, that if you look at this total production being done, about 25 to 35 part of the production is out of imported components. And that's where I would ideally want that it should be a completely indigenous, although across the world, this is a normal trend. There's nothing abnormal about it. But then, I would really vote for full vote, or this will have my full vote when 100% indigenous manufacturing starts happening. That's my point one. Point two is that if you look at the number of people employed in the defense industry at this point of time, Vineet, they cross 1 million, in fact, about 1.2 million. But my concern is that I would rather want more private participation here. Because we have Bharat Electronics and Bharat Dynamics, we have these companies, they are large companies, they're very large. We've got Hindustan Aeronautics. But if you look at the private participation in defense production, well, of course, Tatas are there. There are other groups also. Bharat Forge is there. But then I think the startups in defense is the need of the hour. I would want the smaller setups, startups, MSMEs to become more participative in defense production. So then I think this engine would start firing. I'm not being critical at all. I'm not playing devil's advocate at all. But then I'm just talking numbers. I come from the world of economics. So I look at the numbers with a microscope, So we've started taking baby steps. But yes, we are in the right direction. And, there was a time when even the nuts and bolts of those tanks and rifles, they were being imported. We've come a long way from there. So as I said, our direction is absolutely perfect.
Okay.
But then there's miles to go before we sleep in this direction.
Okay, Wing Commander Sudhakaran, you always have a unique perspective towards these accomplishments, for the lack of a better word. I can see you smile, sir. What do you have to say?
Every partnership is a good step in the right direction. Today, if you don't have the capacity to run shoulder to shoulder with either the Americans or along with the Chinese, then the best thing is to take the global south along with you, because they look up to you, because they really don't have a choice, because they've already seen the dark underbelly of what US represents, how unreliable they are. In fact, not only the global south, even Europe sees it that way, given the latest things that has unfolded. So India is a messiah of the global south, and we need to take all these countries along with us, because we have a great potential. But the problem with us is we've still not lived to that potential. That is our greatest challenge. We have a long way, because see, GDP is not created by how big a country is. If the vastness of a country is a measure of GDP, then Russia should be leading first, right? If the population, then India should be leading first. But there are other countries which are leading. China is a good example which India could actually emulate, but we have somehow not. For 65% of India being under 25, the most productive you can have anywhere on earth. And if we say that we are 1/5 of what the global superpowers are, that explains that we have a long way to go. There is a lot of work to be done. So, when we bring a country like Indonesia, which is one of the most populous countries in the world, which is one of the economic engines in this Southeast Asian territory, which has got an economy of around 1.5 trillion GDP approximately, and in purchasing power parity it is almost 3x of what it is. So, it augurs well, and specifically when a country like Indonesia looks up to India for its arms support, that's where a whole realm of new possibilities open up. I like what Indonesia is trying to do. India is Indonesia's maritime neighbor, and it understands that very well. What Indonesia is trying to do is get the security through US, get the economy running through China, and get that strategic balance, going by partnership with India. So it is doing exactly, in fact, today I heard the Premier of Indonesia say and praise our Prime Minister Modi that he's been trying to copy, and thank God that there is no copyright on his programs, that he is able to execute that in Indonesia. And he is so happy that it is working in Indonesia as well. So these are good signs. We need to get these partners along with us, because when great calamities occur, it is friends who come to the help of all. And more than Indonesia helping India, it may be that India may be helping partners like Indonesia, but then India's culture has been like that. It is Vasudeva Kutumbakam. And
Right.
Indonesia.
Let me also bring in
country,
Group Captain Tapesh Chaudhary into this conversation. We do have a paucity of time. Group Captain Chaudhary, how are you looking at this tremendous opportunity that India has been provided with, and has knocked it out of the park, with its outreach, diplomacy, and geopolitical acumen?
Yeah, good evening, Vineet, and good evening to all fellow panelists and viewers. I would go slightly away from the Brahmos capabilities and etc. because, see, before the Brahmos came into the picture, the world was talking about only AIM, 9L, and the AMRAAMs, which were the US missiles. Now, world is actually looking for the Brahmos. So obviously, I do not need to explain, because it is a war-proven missile, and obviously, because the accuracy and the India's culture and India's the countries which has faith in India and our culture. So obviously, a lot of people are having faith in us. So this is the one thing. Second thing is quick points I would like to make. First is the defense diplomacy is the best diplomacy. The second is the Indonesia. Why it is important is Indonesia has the largest Muslim population in the world. So I am not explaining on that. Beyond that, it is viewers to ponder upon. Okay, because the country in American and European, the way the Muslim things happens and the way they look at. So that is the second point. Now I am coming to the larger perspective of geopolitical. See, the Indonesia don't share a land border. Indonesia is Southeastern Asian with the maritime security sharing with India. Okay, and the closest point, the already covered the Natuna Island and etc. EEZ of Indonesia overlaps with China, so it creates a tension. Now you see, after Philippines and Vietnam, and now Indonesia, we are getting into the China's mind, which we always was talking to China's string of pearls, China is encircling us, and all those things. Now we are almost there, and I'm not talking about how much we will gain or not. And that's why I started by saying the defense diplomacy is the best diplomacy in the world. What will happen now? This is where the China has, if you see the correctly, the China has the Indonesia's largest trading partner since 2005. The bilateral trade with Indonesia for China was almost 135, which I think last year it was 150. I may be plus minus few points here and there, but that is how it is happening. China is a top foreign investor in Indonesia, especially in nickel, digital economy, infra, big projects like Jakarta, bounding routes, high-speed rails, etc. So now India going into pushing its way through Brahmos or through Astra into Indonesia is a very, very welcome step. If you see the 1.35 billion Chinese actually visited Indonesia in 2005 as tourists, 2025, sorry, as tourists. So my point is that Indonesia actually also a very, very
All right,
good
Group Captain
country,
Chaudhary,
which
we've
is
run out of
following the
time, but I appreciate
non-bilateral-
everybody who joined in. Thank you so much, everyone, for your perspective. Really appreciate your time. We take a short break now. Be right back.